Well, trade issues, of course, are facing pushback from some even within the Republican Party. But Oklahoma Republican Congressman Markwayne Mullin says these moves are the right ones. Congressman, thanks for joining us. We have heard from more and more Republican officials, elected Republicans. Now, the majority of them have stated they're leaving D.C., but nevertheless, they are chiming in negatively on this tactic. And I guess the question is when you have these conversations with your colleagues, what is their solution to this? Because it feels like a lot of things have been tried over the years, and our circumstances have gotten a lot worse.
Well, Charles, this is a point I've made several times, even on this show, that the reason why the president has had to go forward with taking tariffs on himself is so many elected officials like myself, we only look past or look to the next election, and we're only taking care of our backyard. When we're talking about U.S. tariffs and U.S. manufacturers, we have to be looking 5, 10 years down the road and look at the country as a whole. And that's why the president is the best suited to be able to do what he's doing. And I applaud him for taking on this problem. The WTO, as you know, was created in the mid-90s, and we have been at a trade war essentially ever since then, and we have been losing. At some point, we're going to have to reset it, and that's what the president is doing right now.
The EU commissioner is on his way to Washington, D.C. Everyone's going to be excited to see what happens. Early last week, Larry Kudlow hinted that he thought that maybe there would be some a conciliatory offer, that expectations have been tamped down since then. But at some point, someone's going to have to blink. EU's going to have to blink, Canada, Mexico, and then, of course, China. So are we prepared as a nation, do you think, to fight this, a longer-term version of this? Because obviously at some point there will be some economic pain. Has the president done enough to articulate to the American public, hey, there may be some short-term pain, but to your point, the long-term benefits outstrip that?
I think the American people you see as a whole are supporting what he's doing. Of course, the manufacturers, they're nervous, and they should be. But a story that didn't get a lot of information is that the G7, the president actually offered to do away with all tariffs if the other countries would agree to do the same with American goods. They walked away from the table. At the beginning of all this, the president was very clear. He's not wanting to have free or flat trade unless the other country is willing to do the same. We want to have equal opportunities to do business in their countries like they do ours. And so when he offers to do away with it, why wouldn't the other countries agree to that? It's because they know they have a sweetheart deal, and they know they're taking care of taking advantage of the American population.
How do you think this happens? How do you think that the Europeans think it's okay to sell cars into America at 2.5% tariff, but that our automakers should pay a 10% tariff? I mean, is this all a long-term entitlement mentality that's just developed after World War II?
Yes, Charles, that's a great point. Go back to the beginning of when we started doing trade with these countries. It was to rebuild after World War II. Our economy was strong. We were building, we were going through, so we were going to subsidize what these other countries were doing, which was fine. And that was kind of a handshake gentleman agreement until the 90s, until the WTO came into place. Once it became formal, then they started taking advantage of us in a very strong way, and we see our trade deficit has grown to over $500 billion. At the end of the day, they don't want to let go of something that's great to them. The economy in Europe is strong. They've been moving forward. It's time to get back to a free or to a fair trade deal among both countries.
You know, the cover of The Economist, I think this week or last week, said, can the WTO be saved? Should we try to save these organizations like the WTO, or should we just... No.
No, the WTO has been broken, and the president's tariffs aren't going to fix that. They're not going to break something that's already been broken, too. The WTO has not been in our favor from the beginning. It is time that we have a new trade deal with all these organizations. As I go back and repeat myself, the president offered to do away with all the tariffs at the G7 as long as they would do the same to us, and they refused to. Why? Because they love taking advantage of the American consumer.
Very telling. Representative Mullin, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.